This is a layout of what we believe about the timing of Crucifixion Week, burial of Jesus Christ, and then his resurrection. This past Sunday, we were here and here because the women came to the empty tomb at the beginning of the day. A Jewish day has the night before the day. So it's the evening and the morning were the first day, the evening and the morning were the second day. And so this is 6 a.m. right here. And the women came and found the tomb already empty because Jesus had risen from the dead about 12 hours earlier at the beginning of that day by Jewish reckoning, because that's when he was put in the ground, was 6 p.m. back here. So there's the 3 days and the 3 nights that we want to get. Now, this is Abib. That's the name of that month in the Old Testament. It's Nisan in the New Testament in contemporary writings about the Jews and how they keep their calendar. You heard the mention of a high Sabbath day. That's the Sabbath that pertains to the Passover. The preparation day was the things you needed to do for the Passover feast so that you could have the high Sabbath day off, and this is the weekly Sabbath day. And so we were here, women coming to the empty tomb as it begins to dawn. It was still dark, according to John chapter 20, right here. I'm right here. This is where we were this past Sunday. Now, we were over here. John 13 was Jesus eating the Passover. Then, that night, he taught John 14 through 17, 14, 15, and 16 being teaching, 17 being his prayer. Then, he was arrested, chapter 18, and he was crucified, chapter 19. And then, we're not told anything what they did in the 3 days off except this. Women bought and prepared spices, and it's key. So when you look at this, if Jesus died right here at 3 o'clock, as Catholics and others want us to believe, then how long was he in the ground? He was in the ground 1 day and 2 nights. But he said 3 days and 3 nights, so that's why we understand it this way, and here's how we do it scripturally. Then certain of the scribes and the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from thee. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. This is what the Bible teaches. Those are the words of the Lord Jesus Christ when he was confronted by certain of the scribes and Pharisees, his enemies. Show us a sign if you're the Son of God. And he said, I'll give you one sign. Kill me, bury me, and I'll be in the ground 3 days and 3 nights. Just like Jonah was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights. He came out, I'll come out. That's my sign. As if he hadn't given them a sign already with thousands of miracles. Okay, this is how we approach the resurrection and create that timeline. Number 1, we need 3 days and 3 nights. Number 2, we do this. And when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of James and Salome had bought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. When did they buy sweet spices? When the Sabbath was past. So they did it before or after the Sabbath? After the Sabbath. They bought sweet spices and prepared them to come and anoint Jesus after the Sabbath. Luke says it differently. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments and rested the Sabbath day, according to the commandment. According to this verse, did they buy and prepare the spices before or after the Sabbath? Before. Well, how can you do it before the Sabbath and after the Sabbath? 2 Sabbaths. There it is. There it is. Now we have it with a lot more detail on the website. If you go on our website and go to holidays and the Bible topics line at the top, the toolbar, and then see a few problems with Easter, this will come up as to how we get 3 days and 3 nights by going through these 3 verses. Now there's many more verses, but we start with these 3 days and 3 nights. And then when did they buy and prepare the spices? This says after the Sabbath, because it was the high Sabbath of the Passover. This says before the Sabbath, because it was the weekly Sabbath.